Hello and welcome back. In this episode we're going to take a look at how to use converters within Silverlight. A converter is something that implements the IValueConverter interface, and it's a way to interact with our UI based on the state change underneath the UI. We'll learn how we can register our converters as static resources in order to use them throughout our entire application globally. We'll also learn how we can create multiple converters that do multiple things. We'll create a value converter that will return text. We'll create a value converter that will toggle visibility, and then we'll create a value converter which will change the style of a text block. These examples are simple, but they do show the power of the IValueConverter interface. So before we get started, let's take a look at what I've already done to this project in order to prep it to save some time. The first thing I've done is I've created my shell of my UI. It's basically going to be a very simple Windows Phone UI that will have a button and then an image. And what we're going to do is end up creating 3 value converters that allow us to do 3 things. One, toggle the visibility of the image. The other, toggle the text of the button. And finally, the style of a text block within our phone. I chose these 3 because they show that we can return 3 different things from our value converter within Silverlight. I've also gone ahead and I've added reference to the Calibre and Micro assemblies. I want this for the base view model stuff, and I've snagged the relay command logic from MVVM Lite and added this to the project as well. Now I've already created my base view model. As you can see, it's extremely light. I have a command here that I wire my button up to. I have a Boolean that's going to be used throughout the rest of my converters. That's the ones that we're going to use to show the image or not show the image. And then I have a method that will handle the command event that just swaps the value of my Boolean. So let's go ahead and let's create our first value converter. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to create a converter that is part of WPF, but unfortunately is not part of Silverlight, and that is the Boolean to visibility converter. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and create a public class. And I'm going to have this implement the IValueConverter interface. The IValueConverter interface is what allows us to call this a converter. And you'll notice I get red squigglies telling me I need to implement convert and convert back. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I'm only going to care about the convert method right now. The convert back we'll deal with at another time. So what I'm going to do is say if value equals null. So basically if I forget to pass something in through my binding, let's go ahead and return visibility dot collapsed. We're going to default to a collapsed state if there's nothing there. So if we do have a value, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's do bool. If we have a value, let's go ahead and say it's visible. Else, let's say it's collapsed. That is my basic Boolean to visibility converter. That's all the code I need to do. However, to get it to work, I have to do 2 more things. The first thing I need to do is open up my app.xaml.cs. Not app.manifest. I need to come into my resource dictionaries, and I need to add a line of code so that I can use my converter as a static resource. Now, of course, you could do this on a page-by-page basis, but hey, let's just make it generic for the or global for the entire application. So we'll do. So let's go ahead and do Boolean. And go ahead and give it that. We're going to give it a key. Key. I'm going to name it the same. You could, of course, name this anything you want. You just got to make sure you reference that by name going forward. So I've now set up my static reference to my Boolean converter. So the next thing I want to do is go to my XAML page. And I actually want to add a line to my image here that allows me to use that converter. So I want to do it on the visibility. And I want to say that I'm going to bind, and I'm going to actually bind to that should show image property. The reason for this is I need to use that Boolean, but also this allows me to rebind when notification of update takes place. And then we're going to come down and choose converter. And we're going to use this as a static resource, and we're going to pop that in. Now if I run the application now, I should be able to very simply be able to toggle the visibility of that button, or that image, excuse me, by just clicking my button. So I can click the button and my image becomes visible. If I click it again, it goes away. That's pretty cool. That's how I can create a visibility converter to allow me to, based on a reaction to a property change, toggle the visibility of an image. That's pretty cool, but let's go ahead and create two more converters. The next converter I want to create is text. I want to be able to change the text of our button. And then finally we're going to create one that will change the style that is used within one of our text blocks. So actually I'm going to be lazy here, and I'm going to copy and paste, and we'll call this toggle status text converter. Instead of being visible, we'll say show image. And let's go ahead and create our third one. This third one is going to be used for our style, so we're going to call this the title text style converter. And what we're going to do here is we need to actually reach into the app.current.resources collection and actually grab the style I want. And those styles have been predefined for me. I just basically created two solid color brushes, a highlight and a low light color, just to illustrate how we can do this. Let's do app.current.resources. And if we have a value, let's return the same one. If we don't have a value, let's go ahead and return the low light. So those are my two converters. The next thing I need to do is actually go add a pointer to them here. And I've now added my converters. Now you'll see I get a little squiggly. That squiggly goes away as soon as I recompile successfully. That's just basically saying that the IntelliSense can't determine I've already built that resource for that converter, so it's going to give me that squiggly. So now that I've created my converters, let's go ahead and implement them. So how do I implement my text converter with my button? What we're going to want to do is let's go ahead and get rid of this content which says show. Let's move it down to a new line, and we're going to bind. We're going to still bind to that same properties as we did a second ago. This time we're going to use our different converter, and we call this toggle status text converter. Now we're going to do a different thing here. We're going to do a fallback value, because you'll see at design time I don't have a value right here on my button, so I want to add one. And by using the fallback converter, I can basically default that to show image in case there's a null value pushed into my converter. Okay, so that's that. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and use my style converter to change the style of my converter's label here. To do this, what I want to do is do foreground, because that's the style I'm going to update. We're going to bind, and again we're going to bind to that show image property. Going to use our converter, and again going to use this as a static resource. We'll call this title text style converter, and that's it. Now if I've typed everything correctly, let's go ahead and F5. I should be able to run the app, and I should be able to, by simply clicking a button, get my text of my button to change, the visibility of my image to change, and the foreground brush to change on my label. So that just kind of illustrates the power of an iConverter interface, or creating a converter. This allows me to basically abstract away some of my interaction with my UI, the change in the state of my UI, and I don't have to put that in either my code behind or my view model. And I can make this as a very independent and very reusable component within our app.